Oh, good. That still works. Let's see. Thinking of a little something here. Every video must make money. Every video. Look at them, bloody full-time content creators making videos, going nuts about money because that's all they bloody do. And what do we do? Part-time content creators, and fiercely proud of it. There's a parody in there somewhere, but the radio-sounding whatever it is, this mic basically ruins my ability to do a proper Graham Chapman impression for a Monty Python reference for that sort of thing. I don't know. There's probably a parody in there somewhere. What is up, everybody? This is Jay, a.k.a. MultimediaJay, 2 in the morning on Sunday, November 27th, 2022 at the Geek House. And I am coming on here once again to just let folks know that I didn't drop off the face of the planet. I just had to take a real Thanksgiving break for a change. Just like what happened in school. We'll get into that. So there's a lot that's going on. It's not going to be a fun end of the year, I can tell you that. It's not going to be a fun end of the year, and we're going to have to see how things pan out. You know, COVID was really the big wild card this month. And really, COVID has the whole brush with COVID at the beginning of the month. Here we are after Thanksgiving, heading towards December. Basically, the entire month was a wash because of that. So it's something to think about whenever you hear somebody talking about how, oh, the Omicrons are the more mild yeah, milder. But some of that is the reason why we're having this conversation tonight. We're just going to chill a bit and talk about what's been going on. As far as the videos go, I have more stuff to do now. There's stuff that's piling up and whatnot. The last tech video, though, is going to be really hard to finish because I took a lot of footage from different cameras, and it's going to be rough getting the video editor to handle all of that without crashing all over the place. So we're going to have to see if we can, how many phantom syllables we can dodge. Still some ice left in this thing from when I was trying to use up some more of the ice in the freezer earlier. So I don't know. Where do we even start? Where do we even start? You know, well, welcome to the Late Night Nerd Lounge, for one thing. But these discussions have kind of morphed into rather chill, catching up on things, how things are going and stuff like that. And in my case, a rather sad example of how I just have to keep doing these things in order to not drop off the face of the planet and stuff like that. And then YouTube streaming continues to be broken as usual, especially on the gaming side of things. Elder Scrolls Online is one of those games that's getting broken into a bazillion different categories. But I find it interesting. If I fire up Discord, there's one guy from Vendalia's fan base who's playing Elder Scrolls Online on Xbox right now. And the listed game in Discord is Elder Scrolls Online Tamriel Unlimited, which was the name of the patch that created the modern base game and ended the WoW clone era of Elder Scrolls Online. So it's a patch, it's the patch that basically, that's the patch when I started playing the game. But you can't just type Elder Scrolls Online on YouTube. I wonder if Discord is pulling that kind of stuff nowadays, where there's other directory services and stuff like that. Yeah, there's other directory services that are just algorithmically pulling game names and not being set up properly. So you have problems like what we've seen with ESO and with Forza Horizon 5, where DLC and other add-ons get treated like full games. At its worst, Forza Horizon 5, at one point, there was a car pack for like Ferraris or something, and you could actually stream on YouTube under Forza Horizon 5 Ferrari car pack or whatever it was. A DLC that gave you a couple extra cars was listed as a game. So whatever these algorithmic things are, yeah, computers can't do everything. You got to have human beings making sure that the computers, which have no common sense, by the way, are actually doing their job. So like that. We're also testing out too a chat stream 30 FPS at 4500 for a bit rate, which is YouTube's recommended bit rate, as opposed to the maximum for 30 FPS, which is $6,000. I don't think that really, if I'm mostly doing slow moving images and this webcam, I don't think it really matters whether I go higher than that. And with the flakiness of the ISP, I might want to consider Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to stream at way too high of a bit rate and see what YouTube recommends and then set everything to that. So when YouTube starts complaining because I'm streaming at way too high of a bit rate for what it is that I'm doing, see what it actually comes out to and then set everything to that instead of going by the recommended settings, because I'm probably going to try and make my games look more like Fortnite and stuff, because as we found out with the overuse of the CPU with ESO last time, the encoding and stuff like that takes away a lot of the fine detail that jacking up the graphics gives you in the game. So there's really no way with the current technology for me to really show you folks in real time what I'm seeing on my screen. So we're gonna have to dial it back, try go for efficiency graphics and stuff like that for any game streaming we do, or try two PC streaming, which I really think with games that are programmed properly to use your hardware, to maximize use of your hardware to deliver a good experience, I think that's going to fly in the face, especially if it scales well. I think it's going to fly in the face of one PC streaming anyways. And I think that's the reason. I think that right there is the reason why we have these games and why we have these, what I was talking about last time, those boxes that you can put you can bolt two computers inside, and it's like a case for two side-by-side PCs. So you can have really short cabling connecting them and have a two PC setup with one physical thing about the size of a beer fridge and probably the weight of a beer fridge too, to carry around or to lug around or put it on an appliance dolly or whatever. Maybe they can make them with some like padding or something to protect the systems inside. I remember seeing S-Fan's setup. He had like something like that with two identical computers inside this enclosure, and so it was about the size of a beer fridge, but that way he could have a souped up gaming rig and then offload all of the streaming stuff to computer number 2. I have the hardware for that. Probably Delosaurus Rex, with its emphasis on power efficiency with the 1050 Ti, would be good for this kind of thing. I just got to see how the encoding is on those things. I am going back a generation in terms of real-time encoding. But if there are resources available, maybe try taking the CPU side of it, because the computer's not going to be doing anything else. I can tell you that much. It's just going to run OBS on computer number 2. I'll have to try it out, because one of the things I'd really love to do, if the technology will let us do it, is broadcast what I see with my setup to really showcase what goes on with all of that. Even though ESO is in a rut right now, for people like myself who are longtime Elder Scrolls fans, it's for people like myself that are longtime Elder Scrolls fans, it's a great way to basically make your own fun or just pass the time, or on nights where I'm too exhausted to play a game that requires more attention, just have a chill world to, as Vindalia would say, derp around in and do some of the grindier aspects of the MMO. So that's what I've been doing, by the way, for the past couple of days, is just not even watching any streams, not watching any YouTube videos, not even using my second screen, just playing Elder Scrolls Online, all of that story stuff that's been sitting around for way too long, getting it done. I finished the High Isle campaign. I finished the Fire Song campaign that just came out, which is, so I've completed Legacy of the Bretons. I then went back and did Clockwork City today. And one of the reasons why I'm streaming is I don't really have enough time to go through Murkmire. But on my main character, Richard Goodmain, the paladin guy with the gold and blue armor, I'm going through everything. You know, ESO is in a rut right now. The developers are basically acting like World of Warcraft developers during Warlords of Draenor. If you look for Elder Scrolls Online videos, you're going to find a lot of complaint videos. And some people are actually saying that everybody's complaining for complaining, saying, no, Elder Scrolls Online is a wonderful example of lost potential right now. This is a major RPG franchise, Elder Scrolls, that's being dragged through the mud by a bunch of glass ego, can't take criticism developers that are doing everything they can to snub the player base. And then you look at the long-term numbers on Sully-Gnome for ESO, and you're like, well, why? Well, why is the game declining? The game's declining because, surprise, surprise, really basic business. If you snub your customers, it doesn't work well. You can aggressively monetize something like the Crown Store all you freaking want. You're still a business that has to take care of your customers. It's just the way it is. We look at the long-term stats for ESO. That's what I was sharing. There's a bit of an up and down and ebb and flow with everything, but we'll just load that up and we'll do some stuff later. But I think really more important than anything is to explain why exactly have I been grinding away in ESO. Well, I've had the game since 2016. And I have giant swaths of the game that I haven't played through, stories I haven't played through, and it's getting awkward playing newer stuff, and the characters are referencing quests that I haven't done yet. So I just want to get to the point where just like with Guild Wars 2, when I hammered it out with 100% completion in the original Guild Wars 2, I want to get to the point where one of my characters in that game has 100% completed all the major stories in the world. The original game and all the DLC. We'll do the DLCs first, then we'll kind of grin and bear it going back to all the zones, because the original zones and their zone stories, which my main guy has done about a third of them. Still gotta do Aldmeri Dominion and Ebonheart Pact. Daggerfall Covenant is pretty much done. Then Craglorn as well. And I already did Orsinium, the home of the orcs. But Elder Scrolls Online, the original game, was very spread out and disparate, or whatever, however you say it. So you can do anything in any order, but if you want the story to make sense, you should probably follow somewhat the chronological order of when things came out. And so with the completion of High Isle and Firesong, the major chapters are done. I just got to catch up on the DLCs. So next one for me is going to be Murkmire, and then The Reach for Greymore. And I think I'll be caught up because I did Deadlands for Blackwood. So that'll catch me up, and then I can finally go back and do the stories in the early parts of the game. And it's a great example of how, since the 1 Tamriel patch, Elder Scrolls Online has evolved into this game that is finally relatable to the offline games. My concern is that if these developers, if these ESO devs at ZeniMax don't get their stuff together, number one, they're repeating the history of Warlords of Draenor, and they're gonna reap the whirlwind from that negligence. Number two, Morrowind, Oblivion, and Skyrim have such robust modding support and tons of modding communities, even people like the folks that made OpenMW, that created a whole new code base for the game, so the old crash to the desktop problem is fixed. So a whole new core code base for the game, open source, like OpenMW. It modernized a lot of these older games, other than the dumb stuff like Morrowind's combat system, where you start the game and your character, because there's dice rolls going on behind the scenes, your character can swing a sword at a mud crab. You'll see the sword go through the mud crab, but it'll register as a miss, because that's what the dice roll came up as. There's probably mods that fix that and make it run more like Oblivion, where it'll be a glancing blow if you're not skilled instead of misses all the time. But the other than stupid stuff like that, and other than stupid stuff like that, these games have been modded so much that if you install the right mods, like super mods for Morrowind, like the Morrowind Renaissance or Morrowind Rebirth, if you install super mods for these games and mod compilations and install the right upgrades for them, you get them all to within the ballpark of each other. I think Oblivion might be in the worst shape out of all of those. And Skyrim actually got redone as the Skyrim Special Edition with a 64-bit code base. So there's the regular Skyrim, which is old 32-bit, has its own set of mods that you can use. That was the original game that I played and beat. And then there's Skyrim Special Edition. So, but you end up in a situation where Elder Scrolls Online is competing against its offline counterparts. And here's the thing. The stuff that people are complaining about the most is things like server lag and stuff in PvP. Stuff that involves other people. But on the single player side of things, Elder Scrolls Online holds its own pretty well, but it's still not quite as immersive as its offline counterparts. If you get to a situation where ESO is competing with the offline games, I don't think Elder Scrolls is going to win, especially if we start seeing ESO is going to win, especially if we start seeing more multiplayer mods, especially with with these replacement code bases like OpenMW. It allows for the creation of add-ons, because the code's open source now, to bring multiplayer into a game like Morrowind. It allows for things. It's not going to be like Shanjack's little weird mod with the third-party program from back in the 2000s. There are multiplayer mods for the offline Elder Scrolls games that let you bring your friends into your world, so to speak. And even if you don't have a multiplayer mod, streaming allows you to show everybody through something other than screenshots what you've been doing with your Skyrim game or your Morrowind game or whatever. The advent of streaming has kind of torn down the walls from back in my day with Morrowind, where we were all on the Morrowind forums or the Morrowind Summit or TES Nexus or something like that, or elricm.com or whatever the websites were, where everyone was talking with each other and modders were sharing mods for those of us that modded the heck out of the game and turned it into medieval The Sims after we beat it. The main quest in Morrowind was not very hard. And stuff like that. You basically can make the world your own after saving the world until something corrupted your save games. Or in my case, a hard drive crash, which destroyed my Morrowind saves from college. So all those hours and a Maxter drive clonking out took them out. All I have left is the screenshots that I burned to a CD. I wish I'd saved my save games back then, but I was dumb. I was young, dumb, and stupid back then. But yeah, so Morrowind, Oblivion, Skyrim are, if you like Elder Scrolls games, ESO is in the ballpark with its offline brethren. So the question you have here is, what happens when it competes with its offline brethren and starts to lose, especially when TES 6 comes out later this decade? You really think Elder Scrolls 6 is going to be single player only with how ESO has done and what's going on in the modding communities of the past three games? I don't think so. There's got to be multiplayer in there. I wouldn't be surprised if Bethesda put in a cash shop. Quite frankly, it's the nature of the beast these days with these companies that just can't, make games the old-fashioned way anymore. They got to turn them into services now. They wonder why retro's a thing. Yeah. All right. So that's what's been going on. I've been playing a ton of ESO, playing it the real way, turning off Screen 2 or having nothing on Screen 2. Maybe keep my email on there if I'm expecting something from my dad or something like that. Or check Twitter every so often as we see the drama with Elon Musk taking over Twitter becoming a thing over there. How's this sound, by the way? Twitter every so often. That doesn't sound too bad. So, Twitter every so often. So, yeah, I've been doing that. The reason why I've been doing that is I couldn't actually have a Thanksgiving this year. Thanksgiving sucked. It hurt pretty darn bad. And that's one of the reasons why we're having this conversation tonight. Posted a community post, but for the people that don't read those community posts, what's your problem if you don't? They're like mini blogs. It's like Twitter, but way more focused. You want updates? Check out the community tab. I will put stuff there, and I'll share videos too, just like in the old days of YouTube when you could actually feature videos from other channels and write a little write-up on them. The community tab is a resurrection of a feature that goes all the way back to mid-2000s YouTube. Nobody talks about it because, you have a lot of younger folks nowadays who think YouTube's always been the way that it's been. Unlike older folks like myself who know what YouTube's roots are and what built the platform and where it has gone astray in the last decade or so. But one of the things I like about today's YouTube is the return of the community tab, and YouTube is lowering the barriers to entry for that so that people get it sooner, which they should do because Facebook has a better version of that. Again, if Facebook gets its stuff together, they are a big competitor to YouTube as an omni-media platform. YouTube will become the second place contender, except for their video support, if Facebook gets it together. Of course, given the state of Zuckerberg and Meta, I don't think that'll be happening anytime soon. But the community tab, community posts, check them out. It's part of the channel, and I actually get analytics on those now. YouTube is treating the community posts as just as serious as video, live, and shorts, which, by the way, have their own tabs. So now videos, shorts, and streams now have their own tabs on the channel page on desktop and mobile. Cool. About time that rolled out so we can stop seeing YouTube shorts in the middle of all the videos when you visit channels and stuff along those lines. The new UI and especially the onyx colored, obsidian colored dark mode is really cool these days. And I like the animations when you like a video. Instead of something turning blue, little thumbs up, little pops up like that when you thumbs up something. It's pretty cool. So YouTube needs to work on some of that stuff too. Since if they don't, their competitors will overtake them. And there are competitors these days. Not as big, but very aggressive. TikTok's a wonderful example. So, all right, why have I been playing all this ESO? I've been playing all this ESO because I had to take a real Thanksgiving break. So traditionally, and I think I mentioned this last time, the way it works with the 9-to-5ers is that Thanksgiving is a week where we do a week's worth of work in 4 days, and then we're too tired to observe the holiday properly. So that's the nice version of how that goes. This year, because of COVID, I got the nasty version of it. Thanks, Vovid. Pfft, whatever. So November is pretty much a complete waste because of COVID. Symptoms presented on November 5th, and I'm still dealing with crap from it. Not long COVID. It's not any worse than some bugs I've had over the years where there was one nagging symptom that stuck around for longer. Unfortunately, in this case, the nagging symptom has meant that my brush with COVID, the BQ variants probably, left me with 2 worsts from the whole COVID thing. It was the worst. And think of it when people are like, oh, Omicron, it's mild. Milder. That doesn't mean it's mild. It's milder than the older variants that attacked lower into your lungs and gave you more oxygen problems, which I didn't have any oxygen problems, and I fought the fever vigorously. And if I get something like that again, I'm going to tag team it with acetaminophen and aspirins now that I've gotten used to weaving them, because I've actually had a use for the aspirins because of one of the after effects. So COVID gave me my worst fever ever, 103.4 degrees, fighting vigorously and almost hitting the max dose of this stuff to bring the fever down. It was very hard to get it to budge. That was my worst fever ever. So yeah, mild COVID gave me my worst fever ever. None of the bugs and other crap that I've had, probably not since childhood, has jacked up my temperature that high. I usually get like 100 degrees, 101 degrees. I had a drunk cold once where I was 102 point something, and I felt like I was tipsy everywhere. And I was trying to do laundry on the day I had one of those things. I've had sleeping bugs, I've had throat bugs, I've had head colds, I've had bronchitis, I've had all kinds of crap. No, because I'm a person, So, COVID was the first anything that got me over 103 degrees. Worst fever ever. And now I can add to that, as we put on the old people stuff here, because I'm getting sore. I can now add to that chest muscle soreness, because this sucker has given me the worst cough ever. When you overuse muscles, they get sore. If you've ever had an overuse injury like plantar fasciitis or something, then you'll know what I'm talking about. You overuse a muscle and it's sore. Or, if you're not old and you don't have problems with things like plantar fasciitis and inflammation, do too many sit-ups one day and have your stomach feel like complete crap for days afterwards because you got yourself sore exercising muscles that don't normally get thrashed around that much. Well, this was my worst cough ever, and the reason why I say that is because I don't know if anything I did as a kid ever got this bad, but I definitely have never done this before in my adult memory, so to speak. I actually coughed myself sore. Let's recap. Symptoms, then the newer variants begin in your throat, so you're going to start coughing or getting a sore throat first. The newer variants go to your throat first, so it's all going to start in your throat. Is where it did for me. So, coughing the week I had COVID, coughing the next week after the fever broke when I was getting over it. And it was like getting over bronchitis, where you temporarily become a smoker. You know how smokers, the first thing they do when they wake up is they go to the bathroom and cough for about 10 minutes because all the crap that built up while they were asleep. It's gross, but it's the way it is. Same thing when you're getting over something. So, you got that. And then the third week, which was this past week, the cough finally started to drop off. So that's about 3 weeks straight of regular coughing fits. So I coughed myself sore, as we talked about last time. Now, let me see. Nope, not as bad as it was before. Last time, that would hurt down around like my ribs and stuff if I coughed. Because it was worse back then, because I was closer to all the coughing I did for the first chunk of the month. So I coughed myself sore. And then the supervisor who covered, because our manager at the 9 to 5 was out because he has all the seniority because he's been with the company 30 years, and he put in for Thanksgiving week off. He might even be off tonight to get himself a real weekend out of the deal or something like that. So the supervisor that filled in is pretty much an aloof la-la, tra-la-la-la-la, like Barney the dinosaur as a warehouse supervisor. That's the best way I can describe him. He tends to be aloof and out of touch with what's going on, especially with how hard things are for me. It seems to have completely slipped his la-la-la-la-la mind that I was getting over COVID and I was taking it easy trying to ease back into things. Here I was, having coughed myself sore, and this bozo does absolutely nothing while I'm getting buried in furniture. So I'm shoving heavy 150-pound boxes, stuff like that. We sent a bunch of furniture in the run-up to Black Friday, and just boom, 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 boom. And let me tell you something. When you cough yourself sore and you have chest muscles and ribs getting sore from and rib muscles around your ribs getting sore, you don't want to be handling a crap ton of heavy furniture at the very same time. I almost went home one night. If I hadn't read in advance that it was musculoskeletal, tied to movement, tied to how you position yourself, I might have gone to the hospital thinking I was having a heart attack because of the chest pain. But I knew it was musculoskeletal. It was tied to movement and tied to positioning. It wasn't anything. It was basically going to hurt, and that was about it. Not a broken rib, nothing that would signify that the rib was bruised, cracked, or broken. Just sore muscles from weeks of coughing, now aggravated by a ton of physical stuff going on. Right as I'm trying to get back in shape when I was stuck home with COVID, after being stuck home with COVID for, sedentary for a week and a half. Not a good combination. And so, by Thursday, I couldn't do anything. Didn't want to do anything. All I want to do is rest, take some of this stuff, because it's an anti-inflammatory, mix it in with this that lasts longer, and just take it easy. And so I had a horrible, horrible, horrible Thanksgiving. Wasn't going anywhere to begin with, but now I couldn't even do stuff around the house. Didn't want to do any tech videos, didn't want to do anything, but just relax and hope things got better. Still feel a little weird, but hopefully, maybe things are actually better now. Not as bad as before, but I've been, taking it easy for a couple of days. We'll get back in shape tomorrow night. Hopefully we don't get slammed. Well, night shift tomorrow night. That's technically calendar 2 night. And we'll see how that works out. But, yeah. And that's why, what's our title? I actually took a real Thanksgiving break. So that's basically what I did. I went and I took an actual Thanksgiving break, school style, half a night on Wednesday, and then Thursday, Friday, Saturday, basically just right on through into the next week. And I didn't have a choice in the matter. Otherwise, it would have been hurting even more, which I don't want. I want to actually be able to make money instead of be stuck home or stuck out on medical leaves and stuff. When the manager gets back from his vacation, I will address his aloof colleague who stunted my recovery from COVID. And if he doesn't want to cooperate, I'm going to call corporate, because this is a massive safety thing. when you are in charge of something like this, you own what you oversee. That includes the working conditions. That includes not being an aloof airhead, letting people get injured. And the big issue I have with this guy, all of my worst injuries with this warehousey stuff are on his watch. The back injury in 2021, getting smacked in the head back in September, and all the complications like the panic attacks and other crap that have happened since then, the recurring headaches, they're finally starting to quiet down a bit now, not happen as commonly, so that's good. I was hoping that things would heal up eventually. But, and now this. Here I am trying to recover from COVID, and the guy's slamming me with furniture and lying, not doing anything about it. Not stepping up to the plate, not taking initiative, not having a sense of urgency. Just being aloof and out of touch. So he will be dealt with. He will be dealt with. We supposedly have a safety culture at this place. And, when you're about to head into the holiday humbug season, you don't want to be running people out on medical leave because you can't move people around, especially when there are other people in other parts of the building that were going home early while I was getting buried in furniture. Yeah, we had some technical problems. Palletizer machine went down and everything. But this guy, he should have been a bit more in the loop on things. And he wasn't. So we'll deal with that later. Yeah, so I basically had to take a real Thanksgiving break in order to be somewhat normal tonight. And tonight's probably the most normal I felt since all of that stuff started happening. Okay, tiny bit of soreness left if I cough. But when you get to the situation where taking a deep breath hurts, you know you've done something wrong. Speaking of which, a little bit of soreness if I do that, but it's definitely better than it was before. Definitely better than it was before. As a matter of fact, I understand that when you have these kinds of injuries, when you want to not take as many deep breaths, it puts you at risk of pneumonia, which is a known complication of COVID. So this guy just complicated the heck out of things. This guy needlessly complicated the heck out of things, and somebody needs to hold him accountable for that. No oxygen problems, 75 beats a minute. Good. And that's me worked up having this kind of a conversation. So that's good. Cardiovascular wise, I did get back in shape, so that's nice. Stuff along those lines. So yeah, I had to take a real Thanksgiving break. So where do we go from here? I'm trying to figure out, I gotta pay off some bills, and I gotta do some numbers because I'm gonna get some more bills, some extra bills at the end of the year. I'm basically not gonna have a Christmas. Let me see if Newegg is still having that sale, or is that just the Black Friday thing? They had a sale on MSI Ventus RTX 3060 graphics cards. So, they still have the Black Friday thing up. Now, let me see. MSI Ventus 3060. They still have that promo going on? Or are they going to do another round of that? Or it's the 8 gig card. The 12 gig, I think I missed it. There's the 12 gig card. Yeah, it's back up to, let's do sold by Newegg. I think I missed it. The Black Friday thing, they dropped the prices down to 300 something. Looks like I missed it. Oh, wait, 360. Oh, it's the open box. I don't want the open box. Nope, they blew it. Nope, I blew it. Should have bought it when it was on sale for Black Friday. But, open box MSI Ventus 3060 12 gig GDDR6 for $369.99. It was $340 during the Black Friday sale. Let me see if they got anything else going on here. If I was going to get it. So here's what I'm thinking. If there's another round of shortages with graphics cards, Ultimate Black Friday, what do they have here for components? I figure just like I did with the 2060, see if I can grab the current tech as it's getting phased out so it doesn't suck as much. See if I can grab the current tech as it's getting phased out. Our RX 6500, RTX 3050, no, that should have bought it when I had the chance. But I'm not in a position to be buying. Oh, what's this? MSI GeForce RTX 3060 or RTX 3060, the MSI Aero, one fan, $335, normally $370 for 12 gig overclocked. Fits in a mini ITX case. But do I really want a graphics card with just one fan? I don't know. Toss around the idea of picking up a new graphics card but I missed probably the best deal that I could get on a 3060. I want to stay with the 60s and everything because of 1060, 2060. The idea is get the current technology as it's phasing out, because there's been a problem with sales for graphics lately. That way, if there's supply problems with the 4 grands and stuff, or they're jacked price-wise for way too long, then I'll have gotten it beforehand. The 2060 I have pretty much does what I need it to do. It does what I need it to do. I'm not getting graphics limited. I'm just worried about if it conks out or something, then go back to a 1060 or something like that. It's not going to be fun. Go back to a 1060 from 5 years ago. So I don't know. Looks like I missed probably the best deal I could have had for that. But either way, yeah, it's going to be a lousy end of the year because of all of this. I was hoping I could snag some kind of upgrade, preferably a transferable upgrade like a graphics card during the Black Friday rush, but it looks like I missed the sales on that. The reason why those prices are so low on Black Friday, by the way, is because of, well, Cyber Monday's coming up. I wonder if Newegg will do something similar for Cyber Monday. But the sales volume is why they can get away with those prices. I was hoping to get like a $300-something graphics card with a little bit of oomph to it. And that way, if it cooks on me, I go back to a 2060 instead of a 1060. There's a couple of important things like RTX that I would lose if my graphics card were to die. But considering I'm mostly playing ESO at this point, then that doesn't make much sense after all. Anyways, all right, let's see. What do we have in the windows? We can go into browser mode for. Go into browser mode here. I'm looking for a tweet from Renee Ritchie. There's 2 of them that suck. There's 2 of them that suck. Here we go. Yeah, we'll just set that up there. All these people making excuses for these terrible ideas. The IRS is trending. I don't even want to know why the IRS is trending on Twitter. Either way. Yeah, so I had to take a real Thanksgiving break because of essentially the after effects of COVID. So again, you think COVID is over or it's nothing big? It can be big in all the wrong ways. Worst fever ever, worst cough ever. And hopefully I can get back to normal and not relapse at this point, and not get my December ruined as well. So I had yet another video that's taken way too long to make that now has been dragged out more by all of this garbage, and I've got more stuff to do. There's also going to be more things coming up. I might be thinking about selling off most of what I have and moving if the landlord decides to get greedy. We'll have to see what happens with the landlord of this place. But considering he sent somebody out to clean the gutters for the first time since I've been here, so we're talking years of watching the rain pour over the front of the gutters and knowing that they're all like super full and stuff like that. And finally out today, someone's doing some maintenance here. I associate a sudden set of maintenance with, I want an excuse to raise the rent and stuff like that. So we'll have to see what happens. Especially with all the, playing the victim because of inflation and stuff, even though certain prices have actually been dropping. So I want to be able to just, I want to be flexible. And I think some of that means getting rid of some of what I have. But we'll cross the bridge when we get to it. I'm in a position where I can get ripped off for a little bit of time, but I don't want to be ripped off indefinitely just to stay in this house. It's just not worth it. Plus, clutter makes you feel bad. One of the things you learn over the years, clutter makes you feel bad. At some point, one of the ways that money doesn't buy happiness is that at some point you feel enslaved essentially by all the stuff you have. Like you got to be restricted because of it. And it doesn't even have to be a lot of stuff either. It could be things like high ticket items, like you buy a nice car. Now you got to worry about kids keying it if you drive it to Walmart or something. Because, he has a nice car. What the heck, man? It's like people don't have to make sense, and people ruin lots of good things. So what do I have? What do I have in my browsers and everything? So we just turn the corner on all of this. What do we have for lifetime? 42 minutes. This doesn't need to be more than an hour-long discussion. Plus, I want to get back to ESO. Maybe crack open some Merkmeyer and stuff like that. Why don't we start with a little something why don't we start with the Chrome browser? And let me just showcase a few things that have been going on. Log into Instagram. So, it is most unfortunate that YouTube and my YouTube channel has gotten to this position. That the tech videos have done the damage that they've done. And that people have become so out of touch with how they come across to others by how they conduct themselves and how they treat content creators. Throughout the 2010s, we noticed gaming becoming a death sentence for variety channels like mine. And we talked last time about be a maker, not a taker. And it's, I mean, yeah, you could say I was jumping on my soapbox for that. But the truth of the matter is, this is something that the social media world has lost. I think we're heading towards a repeat of the 90s. And one of the biggest themes of the 90s is, who's for real about things, as opposed to who's faking it. Who's a wannabe? Who's for real? Who's dependable? Who's legit? This idea of not being fake is one of the big undercurrents in the 90s counterculture, and one of the few alternative 90s things that I actually agreed with. I mean, showmanship is fun and all, but no matter how much you're trying to put on a show for others, it doesn't exempt you from having to be a decent person. The person side of social media is where the social media world is what the social media world has lost. You go back to when I was first getting involved with YouTube. The social medias back then were things like Friendster, MySpace. There was an element of you as a person. That went away with the whole persona social medias with usernames and stuff. And so I think the behavior followed shortly afterwards. And I get people, this is all just an app on somebody's phone. Nobody cares. If you run into somebody who cares, congratulations on finding the needle in a haystack. I got to get the ice out of this thing. It makes too much noise. But, yeah. Sad. People don't think that what they're doing when they blow someone off because of a gaming video or whatever, they don't think that it's a form of socialization for them to be that way. It's sad. But you can only watch nothing work out for you for so long before you try something else. I got to wonder about the tech videos. Yeah, the one I've been working on for weeks now. Should I even continue after it, or should I even finish it? There's not really much for inspiration. And for what? A gradually shrinking audience of people who care less and less? That's not the YouTube that I joined. I joined a YouTube where if someone subscribed to your channel, it's because they really liked you. Now, and you would see them in the comments, you would see them chiming in and stuff like that. And nowadays, you have people out there who call themselves content creation gurus who are making excuses for other people being assholes. I don't care if I get demonetized. Oh, you got to earn your audience and hold on to it. Pointing the cannon at content creators is going to destroy YouTube. YouTube built itself up on people being able to be themselves. That's what the original idea of the website was in the 2000s. Broadcast yourself. There was none of this pretentious crap with the SOPs and building brands and $1,000 DSLRs and stuff like that. Matter of fact, there were people building channels with crappy webcams that were so behind the curve, even for the day's technology, that they've built vlogging channels by vlogging in black and white. Why? Because the color on the camera was so terrible. It looked better in black and white. Because you'd have like auto white balance, slow shutter speed. Think like a 2000s webcam and how horrible it would look. But some of my early videos with the Kodak digital camera had that exact problem, where if you moved a certain way, the white balance would change, everything would turn yellow and stuff. It was actually better depending on your equipment. It might actually have been better back then to make videos in black and white, because your camera would actually look better that way. As opposed to today, where you got people not taking you seriously unless you're making your videos with a $1,000 DSLR or a flagship phone, which will cost you $1,000 anyways. So $1,000 phone, $1,000 DSLR. And then there's so-called content gurus out there and even YouTube employees that are making excuses for this. It's sad. It really is. But you can only get treated like garbage long enough before you do something about it. Now, ESO is a guaranteed way to kill my channel. Not going to get views. Nobody's going to care. Someone might pity watch me so I don't get 0 views, but really they don't really care. They're just going to tune out. They're just going to like leave it running in a tab with no sound playing, so I get the watch time, but they don't really watch it. Blah, blah, blah. They don't really care. Da, da, da. They're just trying to be nice, even though it's giving me garbage fake engagement. That's when you decide enough's enough. Web browser, link up to Chrome. While all this has not been working out for me, I took matters in my own hands and went over to Instagram. I didn't have any ideas for Instagram. Didn't have really any idea what to do. At the very beginning, if we scroll down, this is all Elder Scrolls and other screenshots. Oh, use the Instagram app to continue. Okay, we'll just reload it and look at the most current pictures. I started out with a few pictures here and there, but I had no real direction for Instagram, because taking phone pictures is not my thing. And Instagram is actually limited on game screenshots, but there are actually people out there that like game screenshots and run entire Instagrams off of game screenshots. Can't even click that. You can't see. I gotta log in. I'd have to log this in order to view anything. In order to zoom in and show the little write-ups next to the pictures. But hey, you know, there's even a Ragnaros type creature in the story for Fire Song. I wonder who the WoW fan is. For on the ESO dev team. But it's interesting because there are accounts on Instagram that are just people doing ESO screenshots. They call themselves so-and-so of Tamriel or whatever it is. And it's interesting because I never really put any emphasis on Instagram, and I'm actually getting followers and likes. Slowly, yeah. Instagram is kind of a platform that is past its prime and trying to reinvent itself. It's under the Meta umbrella, and at the very same time, it also is having an identity crisis because there's reels and live streaming on Instagram, and I'm not using Instagram for either of them. But just keeping it simple with game screenshots is introducing me to folks who also do the same thing on their Instagram feeds as well. And I might just get rid of some of these Twitch streamers who I follow their Instagram on just to follow all their stuff. And I might actually look at just screenshots of ESO and Morrowind or whatever it is. But, you know, YouTube has been disappointing long enough. If I don't feel like I'm making good use of my time over here on YouTube, then I'll just do other stuff. Why? Because I'm a part-time content creator. I don't necessarily I'm not doing this full time. I don't need to be influenced by the money or lack thereof. Especially when YouTube goes overboard with the money and people are giving each other like really strict advice and whatnot and driving each other nuts for no reason. Of course, I did an expose on that. What is it? Watch time that I was looking at here. I mean, you people can blow off Elder Scrolls Online all you want. Oh, it's just Jay's thing. Da da da. I'm not interested. Da da da. Yeah, Elder Scrolls Online is in a state of decline, but with Reshade, I can get some pretty good screenshots out of the deal. And there's enough common ground with MMOs. People that are into swords and sorcery fantasy should find what I do interesting. Problem is the YouTube algorithm over on the YouTube side of things is the middleman. even though there are now YouTube employees who are ferociously making excuses for this technology and turning people back onto themselves, which is a great way. I mean, you talk about like Twitch streamers, for example, who have mental health problems and they're depressed all the time and they're anxious all the time and stuff like that. You wonder why that happens, and then you see this. Renee Ritchie, the YouTube liaison. Look at this crap. This is the modus operandi for the glass ego, can't take criticism Twitch streamers out there. And this guy's telling YouTubers to do this. You are what you click on. You become what you amplify. You bequeath what you platform. Don't let anyone take your voice and community from you or turn you into what you oppose. Engage in ways that fulfill, instruct, entertain, and enrich you. Mute, unfollow, and block the rest. Yep, that's right. Red button, everybody who hurts your feelings. That's not the way it works. Seriously. The most successful content creators that I have been watching for years keep it professional. And then there's stuff like this. Then there's garbage like this. You want to talk about somebody working at YouTube completely blowing off the existence of this very real technology that makes or breaks you, and I've seen that happen this year on this channel. Look at this. One of the hardest things for creators to learn is we don't own our audience or their attention. That part is true. Twitch streamers have a huge problem. Twitch streamers have a huge problem with acting like they own their fans. They're busy, they may miss or turn off notifications. That's also understandable with the way life is these days. Their time is limited and they may choose other videos on home or sub to watch. If we want views, every video has to earn them. That's partially true. The system needs to pass videos around, though. And it needs to successfully pass videos around to people that want to watch them. You can't just say, oh, you got 500 impressions and nobody clicked on your video. There's a problem with you. Your video sucked, or you're not good at this. Really? The technology that's being developed here is a matchmaking technology. That's what the algorithm does. It finds videos for viewers and not viewers for videos. If you're getting tons of impressions but people aren't clicking, the system is not working well enough. Now let's link up to Firefox and let me show you the flip side of this. We'll probably revisit this in an expose on the YouTube algorithm at some point later on. To tell the part 2 of the story, I might make a video about this. To tell the part 2 of the story about this whole obsession with algorithms and impressions, click-through rate, and garbage like that. Let me see. What do I have here? Do Lutherans pray to Mary 15 years ago from Pastor Ernie Lastman. Well, sudden cardiac death. This YouTube thinks I'm worried about dropping dead. Well, they're partially right. I was pretty worried a month ago before, oops, back out. I almost opened my own stream. Let's get Trump off of there. Don't feel like publicizing this guy. I don't want to see the thing about Boogie 2988 either. There's some new drama with him or something where he went broke or something like that. SCOTUS, Elon Musk, Washington Post, Fallout, and a couple of videos from Kmart. All right. Let me link up to Firefox. Let me show you the other part of this story about impressions, click-through rate, and all of this garbage that people say with Game Chasers is going too. All the garbage that people say with regards to impressions and, oh, people aren't clicking on your videos. If I refresh this a bunch of times, these videos, including this BlissDex ad, if I refresh this a bunch of times, this is all going to change. This is all going to change. If I go to the search box, because I'm not interested in watching a video, and I type something like, let's see, God of War Ragnarok, and I go to search, if I go to do that, I'm not watching any of these. All of these videos, including the ad, have been given an impression. This is an impression. This is an impression. But if I'm not interested in even watching a video in the first place, if I'm just going to use the search box or open something from my left menu, like click over to the Game Chasers Billy's retro stream on Saturday nights, I'm not watching anything that's on my screen. I'm not watching any of these shorts that are now down here either. Then there's more videos. No, medical stuff, NBC News, Walmart, something's going on in Taiwan, da-da-da. And every single one of these thumbnails that's displaying on my screen right now is an impression for those videos that's not getting clicked on. So, the technology is a matchmaking service. It works. We can consider, if people aren't clicking on your videos, it's not automatically always your fault. There are numerous other explanations. We've just given a crap ton of videos and some shorts impressions and did not click on any of them, including Linus Tech Tips, including Place Boing making fun of Alex Jones, including Popeye's chicken sandwich, the Rhode Island dash cam guy, even an ESO video for a solo Magic and Nightblade. We've just given them all impressions and we didn't click any of them. But there's people on Twitter and there's people making YouTube videos that'll turn around and say that you have to make clickbait. You have to do clickbait thumbnails because if people don't click on your videos, it's because your thumbnail's not good enough. You suck at something. You're not doing something well enough. There are numerous other explanations as to why people will not click on your video, and we've just demonstrated some of them. I could have this as my homepage, and I'm not even going to stay on YouTube.com. I could just have this as my homepage, and literally every time I open my web browser, a bunch of videos are going to get impressions but no clicks. For reasons that have nothing to do with the video, nothing to do with the creator, and nothing to do with YouTube itself. YouTube is just my homepage. And I can use other features and give all these videos of YouTube and give all these videos impressions, but no clicks. Click over to a stream. Click over to my subscriptions, library history. I could switch over to a personal account to watch a digital movie that I purchased. You know, I can check my notifications. I can upload something. I could have opened my browser video and given everything on the screen an impression just to upload a video. I am not going to watch something. And yet all of these channels have an impression from me and no click. People need to stop taking things so personally. And these loudmouth talking heads on the internet, especially on Twitter, that go around pointing the cannon back at you. You must do. You must do. Need to actually use the brains inside their head. Need to actually get smart about all of this and realize all you're going to do is make yourself upset for no reason when you don't have the whole story. If Devin Nash, of all people, can make a 45-minute video telling you not to take Twitch concurrence seriously because there's ways to rig the numbers, we should be open-minded to the YouTube thing as well. So yeah, YouTube's pretty depressing nowadays, but I know there's a part 2 to the story. And I know the part 2 of the story is that we need to call out the algorithm for not working well enough. Because, yeah, there's a lot of situations where your video gets shown and people won't click on it for reasons unrelated to people not being interested in watching the video. But the other possibilities are also a thing too. What if somebody did some research on something techie and then one of my videos gets showed up? They don't click on it because they're done doing their research. So, you know, computers, as much as this technology is promising and stuff, computers have no common sense. Computers have no common sense. You can't get too serious with this, and you can't take stuff that computers do and translate it all the time into something that you can accuse others of. Like, your video didn't get views, that's because you're doing something wrong. Not always the case. And lastly, how about we round out this discussion? What do we have for lifetime? About an hour or so. I figured we'd make the hour mark at least. I really think I should come back with a video about some of these, get things more topical, make some kind of video essay about all of that. Demonstrate this too, using the streaming software, screen grab of everything and stuff. But let me show you, we mentioned Rene Ritchie earlier. My issue with Rene Ritchie is that he's a YouTube liaison. He's supposed to be the person advocating for creators at YouTube. But what I keep seeing over on Twitter, let me like this YouTube short, by the way. What I keep seeing over on Twitter is he keeps going in the other direction. He keeps coming to creators with YouTube's talking points. And you don't have to dig very far to find YouTube's talking points. You can watch Creator Insider. You can watch a plethora of talking heads telling you that you're doing everything wrong with your videos. Start wondering if they're giving you bum advice because you'll keep watching and giving them clicks when your channel continues to fail. Something to think about with some of these content gurus out there. You know, you do all that, stuff like that, etc. But you got to think about the whole picture here. The technology that's involved, and technology can work poorly. This is all a giant work in progress, and people should not take it personally when there's any chance at all that there can be a technical problem. That's the reason why someone on YouTube didn't get the results they wanted. Now, I took this out of the Shorts player because I don't have a way of playing YouTube Shorts in React mode just yet. Let's fire up React mode. It's from Matt Koval on his Creator Dynamics channel. It's a 55-second YouTube short. You can see it right there on the screen. And this is hands down the most influential thing I've seen go around the multimedia meta discussions over the past week. Part-time content creators, stop being ashamed of being part-time. The stigma about being a part-time content creator needs to go away. Let's play it.
I was on a train in 2016 next to a very tough Eastern European woman, and she was telling me about her love of photography. And I said, that's awesome. Have you ever thought about quitting your job and going full-time as a photographer? And she said, oh, absolutely not. That would ruin it. And I said, what do you mean? It's your passion. And she said, yeah, but if I was forcing myself to do photography every single day and had to shoot the same projects over and over again, it would ruin my enjoyment of it. That's why I still love photography, because it's a hobby. And that brief explanation has stuck with me ever since, because it totally went against the grain of what I had believed for 2 decades about turning your passion into a job. What if your creative work is actually best as a hobby that you love with no pressure, and you accept your job as just your job?
Welcome to my world, Mr. Koval. And it's true. I've been watching YouTubers think they've become successful because they're able to go full-time, going all the way back to the early days of the partner program, the start of the last decade, when real jobs were hard to come by because companies were playing skeleton crew games in the wake of the Great Recession and the 2008 financial crisis. I've said this before, but I'll say it however many times I need to before people start thinking about it. This model that people, this idea that people have in their heads that you need to progress to becoming a full-time content creator is based on a time when things were different. The audience ratios were different when there were less people making content and people were able to get more views. It wasn't like today where everybody has a decent camera because everybody who with a decent phone can make videos to get started and then upgrade to a DSLR or camcorder or whatever later. It was a different world back then. It was also a different world because regular jobs sucked. Companies were taking advantage of the Great Recession. Things have changed radically in this day and age of the Great Resignation. In my neck of the woods, it's pretty easy to come in at close to $20 an hour, like $18, $19, $20 an hour to start. Some companies will even pay you more because people don't stick around, and we don't have a situation like what we had when everybody was laid off and companies like Target could get people to jump through hoops with a lower minimum wage and tell people, go through all this bureaucracy to stock shelves part-time $8 an hour. It's a different world. But the idealization of becoming a full-time content creator dates back to when things were screwed up. So now that things are more normal or going in the other direction, we need to change our thinking about all of this. And we're seeing this. We know Twitch is in the skids. Let me actually check the numbers. Thanksgiving, how much did that tank their numbers? They've been slowly sliding over on Twitch, and at the very same time, there's a shakeout situation. Solinome. There's a shakeout situation with Twitch streamers doing everything they possibly can. Let me look at the Twitch average concurrence here. There was a huge dip for Thanksgiving, down to 1.9. Oh, man. Expand that, please. Hook back up to Chrome. Hook back up to Chrome. It used to be the case that hook browser mode back up to Chrome, please. It's probably got to show live control room. Oh, no. I got it rigged so that everything must match. Look at that. Look at the green dipping way the heck down. Look at this, way over here. It usually took Christmas. Usually it was Christmas where everything dips. But this year, for Thanksgiving, bam! Unless there's a data issue. Unless there's some kind of data issue. What's the trough of that? 1.6. Thursday, November 24th at 7 p.m. 1.6 million concurrents on Twitch. That's either a data issue that's going to resolve as more data comes in and it smooths out. Did it go back up yet? Because on Thanksgiving, Twitch 1.9 on Black Friday. 1.9 million concurrents on Black Friday. I'm going to come back to this data later and see if maybe there's an issue where some of the data got held up or something. But this is Thanksgiving crashing Twitch down into pre-pandemic territory with viewership. You know what? The behavior of Twitch streamers is one of people. I'm constantly seeing it over and over again. The behavior of Twitch streamers now is one of people getting more and more desperate, pulling more and more stunts, more and more tricks. In the spring, with the skid after the peak during the Omicron wave, we saw people doing endless collabs. Now people are suspicious and stuff. There's, I said monkey branching, which is not probably the best term to use. It's a dating term. It's a manosphere term for when your girlfriend dumps you in favor of somebody with more money, better looks, a fancier car, etc. But they trade up, so to speak, and dump you in the process. It's kind of a brash term to use. But there's a bit of an issue right now where Twitch streamers are suddenly being friendly and kind of brushing up against the no self-promotion rules of their peers. So little rinky-dink streamer can't get established, no self-promotion or you get banned, but then you see streamers doing it to each other. And, basically flying the flag that they're there and hoping the audience will recognize them and go watch them when they go live. It's really ridiculous, but it was Christmas the previous years that did that. Let's go back to 2021. November 13th, what's that dip right there? The 2.3 on Thursday, the 25th of last year. 2.3 mil. I got to see what happens to this data. If this isn't some data hiccup, we're talking about a Thanksgiving viewership drop that is worse than the Christmases of the past 2 years. Wow. I'm going to revisit this in a day or two and see if this is some kind of data hiccup. But wow. It's crazy. It's crazy, you know? Of course, you got some alarmist people on Twitter that are saying there'll be some kind of COVID surge. I think it depends on where you live and who's up to date on their shots. But in Connecticut, things are kind of in the skids, including hospitalizations. So you have these variants going around, yeah, but I think people have it down pat at this point, unless they're a deep red that pretends it doesn't exist. Oh, it's just a cold. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. December is the big month because Omicron became a thing in the middle of December, and we were like, oh, it's going to ruin Christmas about a year ago. So I'll have to see what happens with that. But this is huge. This is a dip down into pre-pandemic levels of Twitch viewership on Thanksgiving and Black Friday. The ship has sprung a leak. And, you know, to the Twitch streamers that are watching all of this happen, I'm just going to say, don't take it personally. Things change in this world. Just like in the other direction, when the lockdowns happened and Twitch went from 1 something for concurrence to, at its worst in 2020, 2 million concurrents during the worst part of the year, like July in the summer. People going out, not sitting around watching streams all the time, and the lockdowns are lifted, da-da-da. And the UK variant starts popping up. Dip for Christmas, da-da-da. I got to see what happens to this data. 1.646270. I might just tweet the admin of this site and say, is there something, how's the data? What's up with the data for Thanksgiving and Black Friday? I'm going to ask about that. Because if this is legit, this is huge. This is huge. And so when we start running into problems with streamers that have been riding high off of the pandemic, now having to come back down to earth and change stuff, I'm just going to say this. It's not a problem if somebody has to be a part-time content creator. It's not a problem if somebody has to do this for fun. It's not a problem if the reason why you do stuff is for the fun of it. And it's not a problem if you get a real job. Matter of fact, if you live somewhere like where I live, there's industrial park real jobs where if you have any work ethic at all, people are really, really going to like you. What's this source that is something bitmap? Oh, it's an app data thing. What happens if I delete this? Remove. Like nothing happens. Okay, it must be like a temp file or something. I don't know why it was in there as a source. There's nothing wrong with being a part-time content creator, and there's nothing wrong with having a real job. And there's nothing wrong with needing to pick up a job for more reliable money as this content creation stuff gets like, you know, we've seen this before. I mean, here in the industrial parks where I'm at, we get people coming in from like casino jobs and bartending jobs and restaurant jobs because they got sick of the unreliability of working for tips. So, or sales jobs, they got sick of trying to chase commissions. So they just want something reliable and stable. So, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. That's at the macro level. At the micro level, with what I'm doing here, we're going to head into December. It'll probably be December by the next time I go live, unless something big comes up. And we'll see where we go from here. But yeah, I had to take a real Thanksgiving break because COVID gave me my worst fever ever and my worst cough ever. But when I start feeling more normal again, and if things don't get crazy, and if the landlord doesn't pull a stunt with the first of the year approaching, like, I'm jacking the rent through the roof and making me want to move out or something, we'll see where everything goes from here. I got stuff sitting around that is only sitting around because I want to make videos about it. But at the same time, I got to wonder about the whole algorithm state of YouTube and what the tech videos have done to this channel. It's pretty sad. And it's pretty sad to see how people have changed. It almost takes away your inspiration completely with the way things are nowadays. Which is why if people ever want to break their silence and, you know, not give me like pity views or pity concurrence and say stuff in the chat, say stuff in the comments. I very liberally throw around hearts these days for constructive comments, because it's nice to see that people can still say nice things even when I don't have something going viral. It's the nature of the beast with YouTube these days, and I really think we're really heading towards a great reshuffle of how all of this online media stuff works in the first place. Till next time, this is MultimediaJay signing off. Thanks for stopping by.